Hello friends, Marcy here, and we're going to talk about the LAMY 2000 and a pen that is similar to the LAMY 2000, not a duplicate because it's not exactly the same, but looks very similar, and we'll look at some nibs and writing samples. So first off is the packaging. As you know, President's Day weekend I ordered this pen. I've always wondered about it, and it took me quite a while. You can see LAMY right there at the top of the clip. And also inside, under the clip, I don't know if you can see, that says the word Germany. It's engraved there. So anyway, I ordered it because I've always wondered about it. I've always heard a lot of good things about it, but it was not anything aesthetically that I wanted. You know, as I mentioned in my other video, it reminds me of like a Pilot Flare or just a marker pen. Nothing fancy or fabulous, but it was designed and created in 1966, and the design has not changed. It's been manufactured since with no changes because everything is perfect on it. And anyway, so to start with, boxing. Boxing here is very different. We know the boxing packaging for LAMY. It was shared in a video a few weeks ago. And this packaging is a bubble envelope, bubble mailer. And it is from Amazon. It's a Jinhao 80, but this came with two pens. The only difference here is this one has a black clip and this one has a silver. So since we're looking at similarities, I'm only going to look at the one with the silver clip and tuck this back inside, as we do not need it right now. So I actually ordered these at the same time I ordered the LAMY, about the President's Day weekend. So I've had them for a while, and I've just been distracted with other pen issues. If you've been following my channel, you know, you know the issues, and we'll talk about those later. But right now, let's look at the LAMY 2000 and a duplicate. So visually, and I'm going to need this in a moment. Visually, you can see they are the same size. Let me get closer. And even the clip section here looks, except for the word LAMY, looks the same. I mean, how copycat is that, really? Even the brushed finish on the clip and the brushed finish on the body look very similar. I can tell a difference, more matte finish on the LAMY 2000 than this one. And let's talk about those finishes for just a moment. I'll hold them closely as I read some of the notes that I wrote on some research. The LAMY 2000 is a Macrolon body material, and I looked up the Macrolon. It is a polycarbonate that's stronger and lighter than plastic, and it can even be made clear, like you might think of the not plastic windows, but maybe some windshields on like a boat or other items that are not made out of glass. Anyway, so, and it is injection molded. Still talking about the LAMY. Whereas the carbon, or this pen, the Jinhao 80, is a carbon fiber. And carbon fiber is a long strand composed mostly of carbon atoms that are bonded together in microscopic crystals. So let's look at the weights of these pens before we take the caps off. And just to compare, if you're looking for more similarities, let's check this out. So the LAMY LAMY 2000 here is 26.12 grams, and we'll switch to the Jinhao 80, 18.9. So it's considerably lighter on the pen as a whole. Let's look at just the pen barrel. If you were to be writing with it unposted, 11.72 grams. And if you were writing with the LAMY unposted, let me get it to not roll, right? Oh, hold on. Okay, 17.25, almost 17.33 grams. So there is a difference in weight, and that is due to the build, the material, the build of the material used. All right, now let's look. Well, of course, the length is the same. Let's take the caps off and do a comparison. I think I need my little glass tray here to keep these from rolling. So here's our LAMY 2000, and then the Jinhao 80. All right, now we can start to see some differences in the build of the pen, namely in the nib. The LAMY 2000 has a hooded nib, and let's talk about the material of that nib, because I did look up, do a little research there as well. It's a 14 karat gold rhodium plated, and I know what gold is, but I wasn't sure about rhodium, so I looked it up, and rhodium has an atomic number of 45. It's made of a silvery white, hard, corrosion-resistant transition metal. It is less costly than solid gold or platinum, and it's used. It's also used for making catalytic converters, so part of the operations of your car's engine there. All right, and this is the hooded nib. Then this one looks like the nib on a LAMY Safari or All-Star. It has that LAMY shape. And this nib is made of iridium. And again, I did not know what iridium was, so looking it up, it has an atomic number of 77. It's a chemical element that is hard, brittle, silvery white transition metal, similar to the description here. It's a metal of the platinum group. And then it's used for fountain pen nibs, of course, compass bearings, electrical contacts, spark plugs, again, part of the engine operation for our vehicles or small motors. And it is very expensive. It costs $6,000 an ounce, which is 3 times more than gold. So I don't know the percentage of iridium that's actually here, but that confuses me a bit, since this pen, this is a $200 pen. This is less than $8 pen, $750. And here, if we look at the grip section, we have this other color grip. It's also Macrolon injection molding grip section here on the LAMY 2000. And this one, again, is the same material, but it's the same color, and it has a ring here, just a silver ring, which this one has the LAMY 2000 has an ink window. It's really hard to see. Let me grab my loop and see if I can put a light under that, because it's hard to see when it's full of ink. So let's just look. Yeah, okay, and I do have a blue ink in here now, so now you can see the ink window there. This one does not have an ink window. It only has that silver ring. And when I say this one, I mean the Jinhao. All right, the LAMY can be taken apart. I will not take it apart. It is a piston fill system, and again, it's hidden. This barrel has been manufactured so streamlined you can't even see the line of separation where the piston knob starts. until I open it. Once I open, there it is. So this is the piston that I use to draw up ink through my nib, which I'm not going to maneuver right now because it is inked with a blue ink. This one is a converter system. So when we unscrew this, we do have the converter included, which makes it more cost effective, simply because the pen, the whole thing cost just over $7. It was $14.50 for two. And it has the included converter. Many of the premium pens, you pay more than that for just the converter. So there's a little cost benefit there for you. And let's look at, so it's just a push-on converter. It is not threaded. It does not have caps. This is a metal threads here. Let's look at, okay, inside some metal threads. Again, there's that silver ring that we see when we have the pen closed. So let's talk about posting the pen. The LAMY, or the LAMY, has a very unique cap system where, pull this off, you can see these little protrusions as shared in another video. Those are instrumental in capping this pen so it caps securely where it seals the nib, but also it doesn't push it down too far, and it has a satisfying click. So let's push it on, and here, there we go. And then it does post well. I actually like the feeling of posting it better than capping it because it glides over, and it just seems to like go into like a very soft gel slide. It doesn't feel like it's grinding with the material on material. It just feels so soft and smooth. It doesn't click here. It's just a very smooth glide. This one, because of these metal protrusions that click, I can feel them kind of touching the metal inside the cap until it clicks. So there we go. The uncapping of this pen is just like a plastic, you know, like the plastic flare pens that we shared last time. Actually, let me grab one. So here's the similar click. Oh, that's Papermate flare. So similar plastic click, and it would click over this ring section here. So posting, let's check. Same thing. It just slides on until it grips. It doesn't have a smooth slide like this. It slides until you feel the connection. This one, you can feel the connection as it slides. You can probably see that too. Let me try again. See that hole? Yeah. So very easy to post, and of course very lightweight, which makes it a very similar hole to what you're used to posting in this sort of pen. So by the way, I'm going to link below a video from DoodleBud. He can investigate the innards of this pen like an engineer, because, you know, he is one. So he takes it apart and he shares some very interesting information about the nib and the nib feed. So I'm going to post that because it's something that I encourage you to watch. Okay, and now let's ink up this. This already has ink. I'll show that to you in just a quick minute. We'll dip this into some ink and do a writing sample. This one is an extra fine nib, and this one is fine. So not the exact same. So we're going to be writing again on the Rhodia Dot Grid tablet or pad. And when I inked this, it was on February 25th when I inked my LAMY 2000 with Noodler's Black Bulletproof, and I forgot to write my pen's name here on this page while it was inked, so I just made a little pencil note there for myself. I need to go back and add that, but it is no longer inked with the Noodlers. It is now inked with the Israel 75 Diamond Jubilee. So to do a more fair comparison on the nibs, I do want to use that same ink in the Jinhao 80 as we write today. So let's start with, oh, by the way, I did notice, I think I'm going to blur here. I did notice that when I changed inks, the extra fine nib wasn't as extra fine as I had noticed in using this ink. So I'm going to write, it almost writes like a medium now. This is a different ink, same extra fine nib, but I think it writes more wet with this new ink. It's like it doesn't seem like an extra fine nib to me at all. It writes like a medium. And I did it again. We have the LAMY 2000 extra fine, and this is the Israel 75. The limited edition Jubilee or Diamond Jubilee. I think I'll just write Israel 75 Diamond Jubilee. And then we'll use the Jinhao 80 and do the same thing again with the fine nib. But I'm just going to dip into the bottle here. So the Jinhao 80 with the fine nib writes finer than the LAMY extra fine nib there. And this feels like a very firm, there's no bend or bounce to this nib. It's very firm. Jinhao 80 fine nib, and we're using the Israel 75 Diamond Jubilee. So there's our writing sample of the two nibs using the same ink. Kind of similar. I do think this fine is finer than the LAMY extra fine. This is a fabulous ink, by the way. Let me put down some more swirls and lines with the LAMY nib. So I'm actually quite impressed with the smoothness of this nib. Impressive. The best thing about it, I must say, is I wouldn't carry this to school work every day just for fear of losing or damaging it. And this one I would carry to school work to fill out important forms or use for signing, because for $7 1/4 with my included converter, if it was lost or damaged, it would be very easy to replace. So that's the upside to having a premium deer pin that you just enjoy, but you don't want to have to worry about damaging it or losing it. And you can carry something that's similarly enjoyable to write with without fear of losing or damaging it. So there you go. LAMY 2000 extra fine, Jinhao 80 fine nib. Both are excellent pens, and you can see the pros and cons for yourself and decide which pen may be for you. Oh, I did forget to mention, I'm rewriting this to correct my spelling. I did forget to mention there are about 10 colors available on Amazon's website of this pen, but the cost of those pens, they do not come in a set. The 10 colors are about $10 each. There's not a set of 2 for $14.50. The colors are blue, brown, gray, ivory, and a black that you can buy singular. You don't have to buy a twin, 2 set. There's 2 greens and 2 reds, so if you want to go check them out, very affordable pen to try out the LAMY 2000 style. Thank you for spending some of your precious moments with me. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.